What up, Nation? Welcome to another edition of the Wise Take NASCAR Daily Fantasy Sports Wise Stream. CK013 here. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. And I, of course, am from the Wise Take Nation, which you can find on all the social media platforms listed above or directly at wisetake.com. I am joined once again by the NASCAR residential analyst, Tommy SB, aka Tommy Shaken Bake. You can find him on Twitter at kartracing_22. You can also find him around the Wise Take Nation, as well as the Slack chat. Tommy boy, how you doing?
What's going on, CK? We got ourselves another fun short track this week. We got some Martinsville. Got another 500 lap race, so lots of Dominator points, man. So I think we're going to have some real fun today. We got some racing today. We got 2 Xfinity races between Saturday and Sunday, another Cup race on Sunday. So it's going to be a busy week.
Wow, there's a lot going on in the NASCAR world, but I give them props. They opened and they're not wasting any time. They're trying to catch up. They're constantly. It seems like they're constantly fighting bad weather too. They're trying to make things worse. But at the end of the day, they're getting it done, and that's what things are all about, especially in the sports world. So you mentioned this is a shorter track. This is a 500 lap track. Talk to me about what kind of build you think that sets up for. Is it something where we expect the favorites to kind of maintain, or is it something where shit goes wild?
I mean, you're not going to have a lot of crazy wrecks here just because the speeds aren't that fast. I mean, the cool thing about Martinsville is it's literally a quarter-mile drag strip with 2 U-turns at each end. I mean, if you look at the picture of the track, they call it the paperclip for a reason because it looks like a paperclip. It's really long straightaways, and the track is fairly flat too. So normally you're going to want to look at you're going to think short track, and you're going to think, man, I'm going to go look at some Bristol. I'm going to go look at some some other the half-mile tracks. But this track is completely different just because it's only got about 8 to 12 degrees of banking in the corners. So you go somewhere like where we're at in Bristol, you're talking like 24 to 28%. So instead of it being a bowl, it's kind of flat. So you're not so worried about people sliding too far up. The speeds aren't quite as fast. And I guess the caveat off your weather, yeah, it looks like crap today. Like 50, 60% all the way up until race time. It looks like it's going to get worse after that. Looking at like 80% or so during race time. So I don't know, man. I know they really want to get this in tonight. I'd have to look up. I don't know if Martinsville has lights. I would expect that they would. This is the first night race there, so I don't think it's ever been an issue before. Oh, they have to have lights if they're running the night race regardless. So I don't know if they're going to try to stuff it in, try to do it tomorrow. I don't know what the plan is there. But yeah, even when these guys wreck here, the speeds aren't high enough to really destroy the car. I expect some people to take some damage, but I've seen Kyle Busch take damage at tracks like this and still finish the race in the top 10. So might not kill you, but it could throw some variance in there. But it's like I said, it's not a too wrecky race. Maybe 2-3 actual cautions for cause instead of just the stage break. So I don't think it's going to be anything that's super exciting to watch as far as wrecks like you would get at like a Daytona or a Talladega.
Fair enough, man. And we got plenty of those coming up. With that said, Talk to me about, we'll dive into this race, these drivers. Talk to me about the guys up top. If you're going to spend up, who are some of the guys that we're looking to spend up on?
Yeah, I mean, we've only got, 6 drivers in that 10K range. Starting off with Jimmy Johnson, wow, they went crazy on that price. I mean, I get that he's starting deep. The last race, the big talk was if he finished better than Blaney, he would have gotten into the top 12 in points and would have started between 1st and 12th. But since he didn't, he ended up 13th in points and had to draw between 13th and 24th, and luckily the draw got him 21st. In order for Jimmy Johnson to even hit 5X, he's going to have to win. So you're going to have to put him in your Dominator group if you think he's going to make enough points. I don't think he's going to be super high owned. So, if you want to go there for a ownership play, maybe I could see you going there, but you're not going to have a lot of him. Then you got Denny Hamlin, who's a few bucks cheaper, really good on these flat tracks. He's starting 12th, so you got a little bit of place differential upside. He's just been kind of hit or miss this season. They looked really good, the whole Joe Gibbs team last week. So, I could see getting yourself some Denny Hamlin, especially because why would you spend up for Jimmy Johnson? Chase Elliott kind of in that same boat. He's been super fast all week. He was really fast at Phoenix, which is another one of the flat tracks you could kind of try to compare to. So a little bit of love for Chase. I just think he's been super quick this year. So I like him a lot. Kevin Harvick's also another guy. He's been really good, pretty good on these flat tracks. So you can get some exposure to him as well. Kyle Busch and Martin Truex are rounding it out. I think those 2 guys, because of the price savings, And not needing to do as much. Like these guys, they're starting in the top 10 and just need to win pretty much to hit 5X. So I expect people to say, you know what, I'm just going to save my money here, try to build a little bit more balance, go with, some of these guys in the 8 and 9K range and not really spend super, super high up. So, like I said, I think Hamlin's going to get probably somewhere between 20-25%. I could see Chase Elliott getting about the same. Harvick, maybe in the 20% range, but, I could see Kyle Busch and Martin Truex being in that like 30 to 35% range just because they're cheaper. And, they've been good here. Kyle Busch has looked a lot better last week, finally. He's usually good on these these flat tracks. And then Truex, I'm going to give Truex the night race bump just because Truex is really good when it's a night race. So, like I said, it's the first night race here, so we don't really know what we're going to see, but I still think Truex is a great play. And like I said, I like the fact that they're the cheapest in that 10K range, and it gives me more money to play with the rest of my lineup later.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough. I think Truex is who I used for the cover boy in this one. I don't know. Just giving us history here. What else we got if we take it a tier down? You mentioned there's only 6 guys at the very top. Any interest in some of the guys a little under?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to go here. Like I said, this race is it can be anywhere between a 1 and 4 dominator race. Usually 2 to 3 is where you want to kind of pan out. You're going to have probably 2 major dominators and then maybe 1 or 2 kind of these cheaper guys that get you maybe 20 laps or something like that, 15 laps in a top 5 or 20 laps led or 20 fastest laps in a top 10, things like that. So, these are the guys you're going to have to probably be a scotch different on. In this price range, I definitely think Logano and Keselowski will probably be the guys that people are going to gravitate to in that 9K range. Just again, because you're getting kind of the same thing you're getting from Kyle Busch and Martin Truex for a slightly cheaper. And they're practically starting in the same spots. You got 7th and 5th for Truex, and you got 3rd and 6th for Keselowski and Logano. So Kurt Busch, I think because there's other plays around him, and same thing with Alex Bowman and even Clint Boyer probably. The plays around them are better. So I think maybe you're going to see a little bit less ownership on those guys. Kurt Busch, Alex Bowman, Clint Boyer, I see probably in that 10 to 15% range. So those could be some difference makers in this race. Kurt Busch, just because the plays above him are better. He's got the 3rd best average finish this season. His average here is 11th with 10 fastest laps. He's really good on these flat tracks, so I do like going there. Kurt Busch is somebody I think when I built my teams here earlier, I did take a stand on. I probably ended up like 15-ish% on Kurt Busch just because, he's somebody that I've stood behind in a couple of these races this year, and he's not done me wrong. Alex Bowman, he's been really hit or miss. It's either Bowman or Byron each week. One of the two of them has crushed you. They've both kind of been in that since DraftKings has really started this place differential or place dependent pricing. I think Bowman and Byron have both been kind of that you have to have one or the other. Over the last few races, Byron was doing great last race, ended up finishing in the 30s because he took damage like a quarter of the way through the race. And then Bowman went out and smashed. I think he finished 5th or 6th or something like that. And then the week before that, it was the other way around. Bowman wrecked out early, Byron took it. And Boyer's really in that same boat. Like, man, he's been he led 2 stages, like 2-3 races ago, and then smashed into the wall and finished in the 30s. So he's been there, but he hasn't been there. So he's been a little bit, ever since we've come back from COVID, I've liked him in the spots that he's been in, but he's just not really been kind of getting you there. For him to hit 5X, he just needs to finish 2nd. But you would expect him to go out and get you a few dominator points. He's going to have to be in your dominator group. Same with Bowman, Kurt Busch, Keselowski. You have to put all these guys in your dominator group. Probably the most popular guy in this range is probably going to be the next 2 guys, which is Blaney and Bell. Blaney, you're looking at the fact that he's starting on the pole, and you hope that he just goes out there and leads a good chunk of this first stage, which is like 130 laps. Probably going to get a competition caution at lap 30, lap 40 if it's raining there already. So, how does that play out? If there wasn't a competition caution, you would hope that he goes out and leads 75, 80, 100 laps and then can just finish inside the top 10. For him, just to hit 5X just needs to win, which means he needs to finish there, but you're going to expect a good chunk of dominator points. I expect him to be pretty popular. He's just cheap. You could spend down, get the pole sitter. Christopher Bell, you're looking at, decent equipment starting 32nd. So, Xfinity cars don't run at Martinsville, but he did run here in the trucks, has finished well in trucks. He's a solid floor play. I mean, I think he needs a 17th or better to get you 5X. So I expect him to be probably somewhere in that 20 to 25% range. And then Matt Kenseth, he's a very good driver. He just he doesn't get practice. So, ever since he's come back to take over for Larson since the N-word drop that he did a few months ago, he's been decent, but he's been very hit or miss. It's like you get lucky, he hits it there, and you're cool. But there's some times that he's like last week, he wasn't that great either. Like for him, in order to hit 5X, he needs a 12th. Little tougher road, I think, to get there, but it's doable. Especially with this track, you could get some, a little bit of strategy, and the race plays out your way. Or heck, maybe the rain stays off for half the race, and then at lap 260 it starts raining, and he's in 8th place. I could see him holding his own, but I'm not seeing a whole ton of upside. But you could go there if you needed to.
Fair enough, man. Truex just dominated this race. Looking over it, so I guess we'll find out if there are enough value guys to help you comfortably get him, and some of the other guys you want. Take us down to like the mid range now. At this point, are there any is there any argument for a balanced build today?
Well, I think that's where you're going to probably get forced into. Yeah, I mean, you were saying Truex dominated 464 laps last fall, and then you've got his boy Brad Keselowski that did 446 in the spring. So, yeah, like I said, it's usually a multi-dominator build. I think balance is where you're going to be forced to. I don't think you really, really, really need to spend up for those guys. Unless you're going with like a Kyle Busch at the very top, I think you're going to end up finding yourself being able to blend it out a little easier and just feel more comfortable with the way that your lineup looks. If you start stuffing two of these guys in like the upper 9K, 10K and up range, you're going to force yourself down into, really the only super value guy like is Mcdonald at 5,100, but you're probably stopping at like 5,600 before that. So it's a little weird, a little wonky there. But we see 7K range. We got Wallace, Byron, Reddick, Suarez, MDB, Newman. Back over to my notes here. Bubba Wallace, if you like playing narratives, Bubba Wallace will be in the Black Lives Matter car this week. NASCAR, from my experience, like last week with Kevin Harvick, it's always that unknown kind of narrative. Like last week, Harvick won, and it was Rodney Childers' birthday. Like it seems to be really like there's always this kind of narrative that pops up later. Starting 2030 a little further forward than I would have liked, but for him to hit value, he needs to get you like 10 spots, which is doable, but I think it's a tough road to get there for him. Same thing with Tyler Reddick. He was decent at Phoenix, but this track, it's different, and it's not a track that most of these guys have seen before. So, it's a short track, but it's flat. And, you're doing, like I said, you're hauling ass down a quarter-mile drag strip, slamming on the brakes and turning left, and it's a super tight left turn. I think they're hitting like 75 miles an hour through the corner and then like 130 down the straightaway. So, same thing with Byron, kind of in the same boat. I mean, he's way cheaper than Bowman, and you don't need as much. Byron goes out there and sneaks into the top 10. I think he hits value. He has finished second here, so I see him gaining a little bit of traction with that, but I think people are going to more try to save the money and get down to like the MDBs and the Eric Joneses that are just for some reason super, super cheap this week. But I don't hate any of these guys. I just don't think you need to go overweight on anybody. As far as Reddick, Byron, Suarez, or Wallace, I think if you're building 20 teams, maybe one of these, maybe they make one team each. I don't think you're going to have to put more than one of these guys together unless you really start trying to stack some heavy stuff. MDB, I don't know, like they're doing this place-dependent pricing and all that stuff, but MDB's been good. He was good last week. His price is super low. He only needs to get you like 4 spots to get you to pay off. 4 or 5 spots. He finishes top 14, top 15. I think he pays off. And I think for MDB, the way he's been running and the equipment that he's in, that's probably not going to be that hard. So I do like MDB at his price. In that 8K range, I think he's probably my favorite in the 7K range.
Going back to Bubba Wallace, obviously I'm not a NASCAR guy. That's your thing, but I have read around, and it does seem like he said on several occasions that this is one of his favorite tracks. So between the Black Lives Matter movement, and like looking at the pricing of what he's been like in the 6K range on DraftKings. So I was a little shocked to see him up at 7,800. But do you think that, oftentimes in DFS we see guys that are a little overpriced, and in a cash game scenario, we're like, no, thank you, I don't need to overpay. But in a tournament, there's I think something to that player coming in lower owned because
yes,
right?
Yes, yeah, that's where I could see you going there. I just, like I said, if you're down here in this range, you're looking for, like I said, 2 to 4 dominators. And with the 2 to 4 dominators, you're probably going to want to hope to get yourself, one of these cheaper, dominator guys. Like I would like to take MDB and just hope to God somehow in strategy he squeezes around and gets me like a top 10. You know what I'm saying? I think there's safer plays. I mean, I do like the place differential upside with Bubba, but that's about where I think Bubba would finish, would be like in the 20s with the Penske equipment that he's in. I mean, even if you're new to DFS NASCAR and you're looking at their average fantasy points, you see that huge, he's one of the higher averages. I mean, he's had a couple of decent races, but it's so hit or miss. Like last week, he got you 26 points, but the week before that, he started almost dead last and ended up getting you 60 because he finished top 10. And then the few races before that were negative points, and then we get into the Toyota. At short tracks, we got you like 30 points. At his price, if he goes out and rips you off a 30, you're pretty happy. But I think you need a little more than that, and I think it's going to be a tougher road for him to get there. But I think he's going to garnish ownership just because everybody's looking at that 7K range and going, well, I can get a guy in 23rd, so why would I go for some of these other guys? And then Suarez, he's just been so bad. So
fair enough. Let's take it down to the next tier, Tom. I don't think you touched on MDB yet, right?
No, MDB I love, man. MDB needs to get you 5 spots.
I mean,
to pay off.
7K
I think he's gonna have a lot of love.
Even I know that seems like a value.
MDB's been the Wise Tech staple, man. If we were ever going to sponsor a car as a company, that's the company. That's the guy we're sponsoring is MDB, man. So he was in garbage equipment last year and was still a consistent like top 25 guy. And then you put him in decent equipment. That dude's led some laps this year. He's been running really well. He's had some misfortune, but even last week, MDB, we were talking when we were hanging out. MDB was crushing for you last week, and then blew a tire with like 20 laps to go and ended up going like 3 laps down and then finishing in the 30s. Like, misfortune, man. That's what kills you in NASCAR, brother.
Oh, absolutely. No doubt about it. Real quick, Nation. Appreciate those of you who are rocking with me and Shake and Bake as we do this NASCAR stream. If you guys could hit that like button, we greatly appreciate it. It allows us to continue to do content for free on the YouTube and Twitch channel. So if you haven't hit that like button, make sure you do. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. We appreciate your company. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notifications bell. We cover all types of DFS content here for free. So make sure you subscribe. All right, Tom, let's keep it rolling, man. What else we got in terms of like, not punts, but I guess we'll call them value guys, right?
Yeah, I mean, NASCAR, you don't really get into the punts until we get out of the 6K range. All these guys are kind of have a little bit of love for them. Ryan Newman, hardest man in NASCAR to pass. So him and Stenhouse starting 16th, 17th. Stenhouse, it's, his nickname is Wrecky. It's checkers or wreckers for him, man. Was really good last week again until he had issues. Where we at? Stenhouse, I think that what I was looking at, his projected ownership is like 5%, because I think everybody just looks at the safety of Bowman and looks at the absolute misprice on Jones and goes, why do I need to go there? If he's going to come in at 5%, dude, I'm taking a stand at like 15% on him, a huge stand, because it's like, that can be, when he does well, he's the difference maker. Like Stenhouse will be optimal or he will kill you. That's really what he does. Like I said with Jones, like, you're doing all this dependent pricing and you're taking a guy that's really good. This isn't the greatest track for him, but just the way he's been running this year, it's like, dude, I can't see you putting him in the mid 6K range, around people like Stenhouse, Newman, Ty Dillon, Austin Dillon. Like, he should be at least another $1,000 to $1,500 more expensive, and I probably still would have played him. So I see him being probably the chalkiest guy in this range. Amarola, you look at it this way, like, okay, maybe I'll get a guy on the front row. There's a slim chance that he's able to get a run on the start and get around and lead some of the laps and then finish in the top 10, maybe. I could see you going there. I think just everybody's going to gravitate towards like Jones and Newmans and stuff like that. I don't think he's going to get a ton of love, but if you're building 20 teams, I could see him making one or two, just as a cheap dominator, because he's probably the cheapest dominator. He's the cheapest dominator you're going to get. And then we get into the Dillon brothers. Ty Dillon's a solid floor play starting 30th. I do like the fact that all he needs to do is get you kind of close to the 20s to pay off. Austin Dillon is the big question mark. It's his wife is due any day now. So, the rumor is AJ Allmendinger's already ready to go. He's at the track. The only thing that's going to get us here is whether he starts the race or not. I've got some exposure to him. I'm pretty sure he's going to end up racing this race and then just take off. His son's name is Ace RC. The middle name is RC Dillon. If he starts the race according to DraftKings and comes and swaps out with AJ Allmendinger, he'll still score the points. If he doesn't start the race and AJ Allmendinger starts the race, then AJ Allmendinger is going to score the points. So,
that's how it works. So I was just wondering in that scenario. Say he starts the race, but then it gets called for rain, so he would still accrue the points since he started the race on DraftKings.
I believe that the only thing I wouldn't know is if, say, for instance, he started the race and then it started raining. I feel like he still has to go back out after the restart and then come back in and switch. I don't think he can, because you can't make any changes to the car on a pit stop on a delay. Right. Like they literally just throw the car on the cover on the car and walk away. I don't think that they would allow them to switch beforehand. Right. So, I'm hoping we wrap this show up by like 6:30, just so I can make sure that I'm ready for that. Because I really don't think it matters either way. I think if you're playing a few teams and that's the price range you've got left, you can easily pull Austin Dillon out, put AJ Allmendinger in for $100 cheaper. Right. So I don't think it's going to kill you. I think they're kind of both in the same boat. AJ Allmendinger just won last week at Atlanta. So, he's been an Xfinity car since he retired from NASCAR in 2018. So, I don't hate the guy. But like I said, I'd put him and Austin Dillon kind of in the same boat. Austin's been really fast recently. So who knows? And then, like I said, Allmendinger's $6,000. So, if you got literally 3 minutes before lock and all you can do is go change your Austin Dillon lineups, do it. Switch out some Allmendinger and or put in some Cole Custer and just close your eyes and hope for the best.
Scary shit.
Yes.
So, what you were saying with Austin Dillon, that's for NASCAR scoring or DraftKings scoring, as far as like a
DraftKings scoring. If you look at the thing, if a driver begins the race and gets replaced, the stats earned by the original driver and his replacement will count toward the original driver.
Sweet. Okay.
So that's what they've got the right on there for you. But like I said, I think a best case scenario would be if he could pull in during a rain delay and just switch out and go. But like I said, I believe he'd still have to go back out, take the green flag as Austin Dillon, then pull in and switch out to Allmendinger, which I've seen them do this before. It used to be really big in the 90s. Like you used to have these big name guys like Dale Earnhardt or people like that were just horrible on road courses. They would literally go around one lap, pull in the pits, let this road course racing driver jump in the car, and then these guys that go out and make up a lap and end up finishing in the top 5 with somebody else's car. So they kind of got away from that. So I think even with this week, I think if he starts the race, I'm pretty sure he's going to finish it. I think he's going to finish it, but whether, like I said, it looks horrible. So I don't know, man. That could be huge. I would hate for me to have him going to be going, and then they lock it at 7:00 today, and then at 9:00 tonight, once they cancel the race, and then tomorrow he's off to, back to Charlotte or whatever to go for the baby, and then I get zeros because I have 15%, 20% Austin Dillon. That I'll have to call. Definitely be calling DraftKings if that happens.
I have like 30% right now, and
oof.
So that obviously that news is pretty important. I'm gonna be like bugging you up until lock to let me know if that comes through. But one of the reasons that I decided to go a little heavier is for that reason. I'm hoping that people, and I'm even looking in the chat, and a couple people are like, it's really risky, and I agree with some of them. What was it? I think Patricia Stickle says Dylan is risky with the baby. I'm going to take him though, and maybe the risk pays off. And that's kind of like, because I think a lot of people who aren't they're going to want to set it, forget it. I'm not messing with this guy. He's about to have a baby. I'm just not going to play him. And the price is obviously pretty good for the situation. And like you said, he's been running a little hot lately, or at least he's looked good, running really fast. So I'm with you. But that's going to be important news, maybe to get some edge. And with that said, is there any? We'll get a little deeper. You talked about Cole Custer. I expect him to be pretty popular from what I've read. Then we have guys like what's the other dude's name? Oh man, you and Clint we're talking about it. Priest, Brian Priest, man. That's the guy. Yeah. So talk to me.
As we get down into this range, I mean, people like Cole Custer, I think, are going to be fairly popular. He just needs a top 20 to hit 5X. He's in Stewart-Haas equipment, but he's burned us a couple of times before. So, I don't know. LaJoy, don't think you need to go there. I'd rather go Cole Custer, Priest, Buescher before I would go a LaJoy. So, I don't think he's going to be very popular. That's really the only thing that makes him interesting is the ownership. But, like I said, I don't think you need to go there. Priest just needs to get you close to the top 20 to pay off. If he's going to do good, I would think probably this would be the track that he would do it. I think he's been here a couple times before and been okay. Buescher, again, you look at that price tag and you look at the way Buescher has been, he's fairly safe, I think. But, again, he's another guy that could burn you as well. I mean, he just needs to get you inside the top 20 to get 5X. And his average here is 18th. So, you look at that and you're like, all right, like maybe I can go there. Especially if you're really trying to stuff in the top, you're going to probably get stuck with some of these cheap guys. I could see people trying to stack like 3 guys in the 10 and 9K range, and they get forced down to like a Priest, Busch, or McDowell for the rest of your team and just let it ride, if you really want to stack in these expensive guys. But I'm not thinking you're going to have to really go there. Nemechek, the price is interesting, but, he just needs to finish about where he started to pay off. Another guy that's been kind of hit or miss. And then pretty much anybody else, Michael McDowell is about the only one I'd look at. I think he's going to be probably really popular because he does kind of give you like a proverbial free square because you could spend $5,000 and spend it for the rest of your term. I did that for you. I did that only for you. Nice. So, I'm saying you could put him in there and it really does help you spend up a little bit. So I think that's why he's probably going to garnish like 25 to 30%. I think Buescher's probably going to be in that ballpark. Same thing with Priest. Even Cole Custer, probably 20 to 25%. I see him coming in at. Like even last week, we built our teams last week and it just seemed like it was really easy to build the teams because even though they're pricing these guys up for place differential, if you look at it from a point per dollars perspective, it kind of really limits things out. Like it really helped me say, all right, I don't think Jimmy Johnson's worth $600 more than Denny Hamlin or $1,000 more than Chase Elliott. If he was starting like 30th, maybe, but starting 21st, it's like, dude, he's still going to have to dominate from 21st. So cool. Like if I'm building a handful of teams, like easy X out. So they did, they got it right on some of these guys, really missed on others. I think Jimmy Johnson still should have been like maybe the 3rd or 4th most expensive guy if they were going to price him up for position. But, I think Chase Elliott and Harvick and Kyle Busch and even Truex have got a better chance of hitting value than he does. So, I see what they're trying to do, and it's cool. It makes it more interesting. We've seen a lot less ties. I mean, I took second last week at the last race, and it was it was only a 15-way tie where I've tied for first before, and it was like a 140-way tie. So, it was nice. It was nice, $50 on 50 cents. It was cool, but maxing out that 50 cent with 150 lineups.
Yeah. Are there any, you had mentioned that you try to stay away from the punts unless there's dire circumstances. I would assume that's the case again this week. I mean, is there anybody below this that's not even really worth discussing at that point?
If you've got $5,100 or less, it's really, for me, it would be McDowell. And God forbid you only got $4,700 left. I could see you going Brennan Poole. But everybody else, I don't think you need to go there. like I said, unless like you really like the rest of your team and you're just trying to fill the spot so you can submit it. But I don't think you need any of these punts, man. It's going to be easier to build your lineup with like maybe one really expensive guy, one medium expensive guy, and then try to just kind of build the middle on your lower dollar dominators that have the chance to go out there and get it done for you. That don't need to do too much, maybe 15, 20 laps later, 15, 20 fastest laps, and get you just enough caveat to make up for whatever place differential they do or don't make. If you get a guy that starts 15th that goes out and finishes 5th, that 10 spots might do it. But maybe he goes out there, leads 20 laps of the race and finishes 13th. You're just trying to find that balance on those last guys. Like, even last week, it was like all you needed last week was Harvick and Truex. And everything else, it was fairly chalky last week. And it still, like I said, was only a 15-way tie for second.
Right. Fair enough. We'll get into the questions, Nation. If you guys want to start getting your questions in, I see a couple of them that we'll start with. Before we get into that, Tom, talk to me about cash games real quick. Give me 3 guys that you consider to be like the top cash plays on the slate.
Top cash plays. Probably, I love Truex. Mm. Truex and Blaney, I think, are nice. Nice together. You got 10-3 and 8,400 for him on there. And I guess for Clint, I mean, if we want to be cool, I like Ryan Preece at $5,700, and it lets you you take those 3. It really lets you kind of do what you want with the other 3.
Wouldn't you though, like play the ownership game in cash and go with Custer over Preece and use Preece as like the tournament pivot? Just for the sake of ownership.
I think Preece is going to, for the sake of ownership, yeah, I definitely think Preece is going to be higher owned.
Oh, you think Preece will be higher owned?
Oh, I do.
Oh, wow,
I do.
Okay. See, I was under the impression that Cole Custer was going to be the chalk value guy in that range, and that Preece was looked at as like a tournament pivot. I didn't realize that if that's the case, then fire away. That's why you're the fucking NASCAR guy, not me.
Yeah, I mean, even on the cheat sheets, they're literally Preece and Custer are next to each other. So the $200 savings on Preece is nice, and the one extra place differential. I could see those guys finishing 19th, 20th. It's who gets 19th, who gets 20th, and them scoring the exact same amount of points. So, I like the fact that, like I said, if you go grab one of those guys, it really does let you, kind of take some more of these studs or medium level studs that you want to put in a lineup and being able to build around it because you saved enough money on those guys.
Fair enough. Getting into the questions, Alan Morrow says, weather update. The last I saw a radar image from about 30 minutes ago, there's scattered showers. They're going to have to dodge a lot. The problem here is that it's not like in baseball where like as soon as it stops raining, they pull up the tarp and they can just go out there and try to get it in. They have to wait for the track to dry. And once it gets dark, at a certain point, it gets harder and harder for that track to dry. So rain-wise, it's scattered. If this was a baseball game, I would feel like they can get through this because they could play a little bit of rain. NASCAR, that's not the situation. So we'll see what happens. But as far as the weather goes, that's what I've seen. There's a lot of cells they're going to have to dodge throughout this night. It's possible. It's not like one massive cell. It's a bunch of tiny cells that are showing through it. So they have a chance to dodge it. Next question we have, Charles Pritt says, so FanDuel doesn't care about the Dylan Allmendinger situation. You play the 3-car and get points for whoever drives it. Well, I know DraftKings, as you were saying, DraftKings, as long as, but specifically Dylan has to start the race. On FanDuel, do they go by the driver instead of the car?
I'm looking at that now. Not super huge on FanDuel, but let me see what we got over here. Let me see what they have as far as their information. Super slow computer today.
This is a damn Skype, man.
It really is. It really is.
Damn Skype.
Here we go. You get on to the next question. I'll figure that out while we're doing it.
Fair enough. Alan Morrow says Ty Dillon or Wallace?
Ty Dillon.
Preece on DJ Killer K says Preece opens up. Preece on FanDuel opens up so much. Missed your 2 favorite bigs on FanDuel if you said it already. Who are your favorite spend ups?
Favorite spend up. guess if we're talking, I'll say above 9K. Favorite spend ups. I mean, if you're looking at the 10K, or probably Truex, Kyle Busch. Like I said, these other guys are just going to be a little bit lower owned, which makes them more interesting. I do like Chase Elliott if he comes in at like the 20% that they say he's at. And then if you're looking at like that 8K range, probably in the 8K or in the 9K range, I'd probably say Keselowski and then maybe some Logano. I do like the Penske cars have been fast, and we had the Joe Gibbs cars were like first, second, fourth for a little while last week. So Joe Gibbs has looked really good. So, and all those guys are up in that 9K and above range.
Sure enough, Charles Pritt says, haha, never let a computer know you're in a hurry. That is 100% true. I don't get no truer than that, right?
Really
it's only when you really, really need it in a clutch situation that it decides to take a sweet-ass time. I know that for sure. So, I mean, we still got time before the race. Obviously, the biggest thing we're waiting on is the news for the Allmendinger situation with Dylan. Is Dylan going to have the baby yet? I don't know. I'm going to give you a couple minutes time to see if you could find information on the FanDuel deal. I noticed the Allmendinger is not even, I don't think he's even in the pool over there. Right? So I would assume that that's how they have it set up, because they don't even have him in the pool as an option. So I would just assume.
He is. He's in the pool, 7,300.
Oh, he is? Oh, I don't know why I can't find him.
Oh, because I'm price, man. It's a lot. You want some KBO instead?
Oh, no, you know what it is? It's because he's not starting. I have to take the starting thing off. That's why. It's like a starting thing block,
Oh, you're talking about Allmendinger. No, Allmendinger is not
on. Yeah, that's what I said. What the hell did you think
not on there at all. I thought you were talking about Ty
Dillon. No. I know he's so that's the point, though, with Ty Dillon being there at 5K. Allmendinger's not even in the pool. So I would assume that the rules would be similar in that they'll give it, because they do have the 13 up there. I would assume that, but again, I can only assume because I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, since they don't have him as an option, I mean, the car's still scoring the points, so I don't see why they wouldn't just let the car continue to score the points, since you didn't give me an option to play the guy that's in the car. So right. I guess, I mean, if anybody's got anything, I know, was it Charles Pritt or was the one that said that they don't care about the situation if
he was asking. That's his question.
Oh, he's asking.
Okay. And that's his question too.
Let me see. I'll look and see if there's anything on online. So,
with that said, we will see. We will see what it looks like. All the content at NASCAR, at wisestake.com is up. For NASCAR, the projections for FanDuel and DraftKings, the cheat sheets for FanDuel and DraftKings for those who want a narrower player pool to just easily pick teams from. I think we're pretty much ready to rock. I think we got a little bit of time, but again, we want to use that time to kind of wait and see if we get the Ty Dillon news. And here's the other thing. Like, if we get the news, say, in the next 20 minutes, what do you think that does to the ownership of some of these guys? Do people just immediately just flop out for the backup, or do they look at Bubba Wallace now, or someone different?
You definitely could. I mean, people are going to see the fact that A.J. Allmendinger hasn't been in a Cup car in a few years. I could see them trying to pivot more down towards like a Wallace or, I mean, if you're going to take Austin Dillon at 6,100 and you're like, all right, well, that sucks, he's gone. I mean, you could, go snatch up a Mcdonald and save yourself $2,000 and then be able to do something else with the rest of your lineup. But if it comes down to like a, backs against the wall kind of situation, like I said, I have no problem that you just pull Dillon out, plug Allmendinger in, because he should be able to finish about the same. I think he's just as good of a driver as Austin Dillon, and he's hot. He was good last week. So, like I said, I could see you just making the quick switch if you're making like 3-4 teams and Austin Dillon was on one and you got 30 seconds to switch it out, throw him in. But, if we get the news earlier, I could definitely see you, trying to either spend up a couple of $100 and snatch up like an Eric Jones or something like that, or even saving the money and just going Cole Custer or stuff like that. You got 27th.
Yeah. Tony in the chat says, "What's up with Austin Dillon?" Joe, appreciate you filling him in. Austin Dillon is on baby watch. He's expecting a baby any day, any minute. So if his wife goes into labor, he's out. So that's the Austin Dillon news.
Yeah. But we play DFS, and yet we're still sitting here waiting on babies.
It's like NBA, man. This has
DFS.
got an NBA feel to it, waiting for injury news, something to lock.
Exactly.
But with that said, I think we're gonna go ahead and get out of here. We couldn't find the information on the FanDuel deal. We know Tom was able to get the answer for us on DraftKings. We don't know for sure on FanDuel. We're just kind of assuming that the points would carry over. We couldn't actually find anything when we looked. But with that said, good luck everybody. We got some time for you to get your teams built. Hopefully we get that news. We can update whoever we have to update in the Slack and update the projections, whatever we got to do if we get the news in time. Tom, anything in closing for the nation before we get up out of here?
No, man, just let's crush it this week. If you guys need me, hit me up on Twitter. If you got questions, I'll try to answer them for you as quick as I can. Or join the nation, man. It's awesome.
That's it, all day. Please, on your way out, if you haven't already, hit that like button. Smash it because it really helps us out and allows us to continue to do the dirty. One last question. He got it in just in nick of time. Anthony Vaughn says Hamlin or Kyle Busch?
Safe, Kyle Busch. Low ownership kind of upside Hamlin.
Holla. Charles, no problem, man. Sorry we couldn't find the answer for you. For Tommy Shake and Bake, for myself, the entire Wise Take Nation, I just punched the microphone. And as always, good luck.
Yeah.